Welcome inside Week 5 of Trailblazer Weekly. I'm Keric Seegmiller, and we are live on CEC TV and SouthernUtahLive.com. It's an action-packed show today with all the results from last week, as well as interviews with women's golf head coach Lindsey Stucki and women's soccer senior Aubri Detmer. There's a lot to get to today, so let's not waste any time getting there. Trailblazer Weekly starts now. We start the show today on the soccer pitch as the Trailblazer men's soccer team opened Pac-West play last week with 2 games on the road and 1 at home. The 2-game road swing stopped first at Azusa Pacific on Thursday. Dixie State struck first in the 21st minute when Aether DeWood took a pass from Moises Medina and slotted it into the back of the net from 15 yards out. The Trailblazers added an insurance goal in the 50th minute when Christian Hall scored from 18 yards out. Azusa Pacific scored just 4 minutes later, but Dixie State was able to hold on for the 2-1 victory. Now, 2 days later, Dixie State headed for San Diego for a matchup with Point Loma. The whistle blew to start the game at 12:30 p.m. Mountain Time, and just 37 seconds later, Christian Hall scored his second goal in as many games to give Dixie State a 1-0 lead. The goal marked the fastest goal in Dixie State men's soccer history. The Trailblazers would hold on for the remaining 89 minutes to secure the victory. The men's soccer team then headed back to St. George in the comfy confines of Legend Solar Stadium for the first of a 2-game homestand on Tuesday versus Holy Names. And like the 2 previous games, the Trailblazers struck first when Moises Medina scored his first collegiate goal on a long throw-in from Brian Baugh in the 32nd minute to jump to a 1-0 lead. The goal proved to be the game winner as Dixie State allowed just 3 shots in the game. Dixie State now sits at 5-3 overall and in first place in the Pac-West with a 3-0 undefeated mark. To women's soccer now, as the Trailblazers also opened Pac-West play last week. Dixie State opened the conference schedule at Azusa Pacific, hoping for a win, but managed just 6 shots in the match and fell 2-0 to the Cougars in that game. Later in the week, Dixie grabbed a 1-0 lead at Point Loma on Saturday when Darian McCloy scored her 4th goal of the season just before halftime, but the Sea Lions responded with 2 goals in the second half to earn a 2-1 victory in that game. The Trailblazers then returned home on Tuesday looking to snap their 2-game losing skid, and they did not disappoint. Dixie State broke a scoreless tie in the second half when Kylie Lamb found Aubri Detmer alone at the top of the penalty area in the 57th minute. Detmer buried a shot from 25 yards out to score her first goal of the season and give the Trailblazers a lead they would not concede. Women's soccer now holds a 3-5 overall record and a 1-2 mark in Pac-West play. The football team headed to Ellensburg, Washington for a matchup with former GNAC conference foe Central Washington on Saturday. The Trailblazers hoped to bounce back from a tough loss the week before, but a blocked punt returned for a touchdown on the game's first possession set the tone for the game, and the Wildcats ran away with a 40-18 victory. Eric McLaughlin made a 30-yard field goal, Orlando Wallace scored on a 43-yard touchdown pass, and Clifford Sims plunged into the end zone from 4 yards out to cap the Dixie State scoring late in the game. Aubrey Reed also had a great game, recording his second 100-yard receiving game this season, making 4 catches for 125 yards. With that, we'll take our first break. When we come back, we'll take a look at results from volleyball, cross country, and men's golf. We're back with more Trailblazer Weekly after this timeout.
Just 4 brothers who hate bullies and love this city. Gear up, guys.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt and where seeing is believing. There is a place.
Welcome back to Trailblazer Weekly. We continue with our game recaps with volleyball and the results from the last week. The Trailblazers look to build on a 3-game win streak with 2 Pac-West games at home and a non-conference game on the road. It all started on Saturday when Holy Names paid a visit to the Student Activity Center. Dixie State made quick work of the Hawks and rolled to a straight set sweep with a 25-12, 25-12, 25-20 victory. Lindsey Garrett and Brett Anderson led the way with 7 kills each. On Monday, it was Hawaii Hilo's turn to take a shot at the defending Pac-West champs. And while the Vulcans did steal a set, the Trailblazers turned things around in the 3rd and 4th sets to clinch a 25-18, 21-25, 25-22, and 25-22 victory. Delane Daniel led the attack in that game with 16 kills and 9 digs. Dixie State then headed to Salt Lake City for a non-conference matchup with Westminster College on Wednesday. The Trailblazers rolled to a 25-15 victory in set 1, but the Griffins stayed close in the 2nd, tying the score at 22-22. But Dixie State would not be denied and won the set 26-24 and cruised to a 25-16 victory in set 3 to close the match in straight sets. Winners of 6 consecutive games, the volleyball now sits at 8-4 overall and undefeated at 4-0 in Pac-West play. The cross-country teams were also in action over the weekend in San Bernardino, California. The women's team finished in 4th place, while the men recorded a 5th place finish at the Coyote Challenge. The women's team finished the 3.1-mile race with a total time of 1:40:39. Sophomore Noelle Haley recorded a team best finish on the women's side, finishing in 16th place with a time of 19:36.4. Freshman Alyssa Herring also logged a top 25 finish, crossing the finish line in 25th place with a time of 19:57.7. The men's team finished the 5-mile race with a total time of 2:16:29. Sophomore Hunter Chamberlain led the way with a 4th place finish, crossing the finish line with a time of 26:32.7, while senior Rodney War finished in 21st place with a time of 27:10.4, and junior Jonas Desta rounded out the top 25 with a 25th place finish and a time of 27:26.6. Now with cross country, congratulations are in order for the women's team. Noelle Haley was named Pac-West Co-Runner of the Week and Alyssa Herring named Freshman of the Week for their performances in California. So a big congratulations to Noelle and Alyssa. And finally, the men's golf team opened its fall season with 2 tournaments. First up, the St. Martin's Invitational in Olympia, Washington on Friday and Saturday. The Trailblazers finished in 9th place at the St. Martin's Invite with Nicholas Britt, Alec Johnson, and Jace Frampton each finishing tied for 31st place at 9 over to lead the way. Dixie State then made the trip to Bellingham, Washington for the Western Washington Invitational on Monday and Tuesday. The Trailblazers finished in 13th place at Western Washington. Nicholas Britt was again the top finisher for Dixie State in 20th place at 1 over, while John Reed finished in 50th place at 8 over. Before we toss to break again, it's now time for our Trailblazer Weekly Athletes of the Week from this past week. On the men's side, men's soccer freshman Christian Hall gets the nod this week after scoring the game-winning goals at Azusa Pacific and at Point Loma last week. Volleyball senior Lindsey Garrett gets the honor on the women's side this week. Lindsey was named Pac-West Defender of the Week on Monday after tying career highs with 9 total blocks and 6 digs in Dixie State's win over Holy Names. So again, a big congrats to Christian and Lindsey, our Trailblazer Weekly Athletes of the Week. It's time now to run to our next break. The golf talk continues when we come back, when we are joined by women's golf head coach Lindsey Stucki. Don't go anywhere. There's more Trailblazer Weekly after this.
There is a place where the sun doesn't hide in the winter, where the greens stay green and the crimson canyons still glow. There is a place where dimples determine destiny, and a tiny wooden tee holds the outcome in the balance. There is a place where we drive for show, putt for dough, and settle the score with another round. There is a place.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised.
Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
There is a place where young and old make connections, where kids feel like grown-ups, and grown-ups feel like kids. There is a place where beauty arises in contrast, where wonder is universal, and laughter second nature. There is a place where friends find a future, families find each other, and feelings find their home. There is a place.
Welcome back to Trailblazer Weekly, live from the CEC Television studios. Well, the fall sports are all in full swing now, the golf teams included. Today we're pleased to welcome to the show women's golf head coach Lindsey Stucki. Coach, thanks for stopping by today and taking time out of a schedule that I know is very busy. We appreciate you being here and chatting with us so that we can get to know you better. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Like to have a little fun with all of the new coaches and any of the coaches that come in for that matter. But so before we dive in to the meat of the interview, we'll just want to ask you a quick question to help get to know you a little bit better. If you could walk out of this studio anywhere and you've got your clubs with you, you're headed out to the golf course, anywhere in the world, which golf course are you headed to? Where's your favorite place to play?
Well, I've never played it, but my first choice would probably be Augusta, where the Masters are played. I'm sure it would take advantage of me, but you know, it would be a good experience just to walk the grounds. I think I'd even enjoy that. And
that's okay. Maybe we keep it locally to either St. George or Utah, somewhere that you have played. What's your go-to course?
My favorite here is Sand Hollow for sure. Just I've worked out there as an assistant professional, and I just think it's so beautiful. Being from Canada, we don't have the red rocks like they have out there, and it's awesome.
Well, golf is certainly a wonderful game to be able to get out and play. I don't play well. I enjoy playing, but I usually chase that little white ball from left to right, and I get my money's worth every time that I go. But we're excited to have you here on the show and just talk with you a little bit. Obviously, you're starting your first year as head coach this season here at Dixie State. I want to rewind a little bit. Let's go back to this past summer. You hear that Rachel Harmon's, the stepping down or retiring is a better word for it. She's been the only coach in the program at that point in its 4-year history. The job comes open. You apply for the job and you get it, and the rest is history there. But let's kind of fill in some of those details about that in-between time. What jumped out about the job? Why Dixie State?
Well, I'm actually a graduate of Dixie State, so it kind of holds a special place in my heart. And my brother played for the men's team, so I kind of have that connection with Dixie State. Just women's golf in general. As I was teaching in the community, I found my niche kind of with girls golf and junior golf. So when it came about that the job was open, I was so excited because it's something I'm really passionate about. Like you said,
you've had other jobs and golf pros and individual instruction, a lot of that. Also, a couple stints at coaching at Hurricane High School a few years ago. What made you want to make that jump to get back into coaching, and specifically at the collegiate level?
I played collegiately at the University of Central Arkansas, and my experience was just a great experience. So the opportunity to provide young athletes, trying to create a special experience at the collegiate level was really what I wanted to do. And I feel like my background experience really lended well to that.
Absolutely. Of course, being a golf coach is a little bit different than being coaching football or basketball. Obviously, you can't call a timeout at a tournament and be there and help each one of your players set up each one of their shots.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, though, how much are you actually able to interact with each of your players at a tournament? It kind of provides an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, you always feel like you're neglecting someone. I learned at the first tournament, but I've kind of learned which players need help where, and they've let me know, and that's been the biggest learning experience for us as a team, is trying to figure out the dynamic and where everybody needs help in their game as far as on the golf course.
Of course, you've got that perspective from both, like as you mentioned, a player and a coach, maybe stepping back, maybe from a player's perspective, saying, maybe they don't want the coach right there all the time, and they say this is an individual sport. I'm kind of excited to just go out and do my own thing. Do you get that feel every once in a while as you're out with them?
Yeah, some of them don't want the help at certain points in time, and I'm fine with that. I just want to help them where I can.
Let's talk about this year's team. Obviously, a very young squad. You don't have any seniors on the roster. Maybe not an ideal situation for a first-year coach, but certainly some talented ones coming back. Like a Colbert Collinsworth coming back from last year, and you've got some great players coming into the program. But how much do you, as a coach, then rely on those that have been here in this program to provide kind of leadership role?
Yeah, we have 3 returners and only one, Colbert, as you mentioned. She's the only one that's had really any tournament experience. She's been really good at helping the younger ones calm their nerves, which has been our biggest problem, is just kind of getting the girls calmed down at the tournament so that they can play at the level that I know they're capable of.
A lot of new players, as we mentioned, and the returners are familiar names, but who are some of those names that we should be familiar with, those new ones that we're definitely going to get to know as the tournaments build up?
Yeah, we've got Katie Perkins. She's actually from St. George. She transferred from UVU, and she actually showed our best showing at the tournament, a tie for 7th, which was amazing in a huge field. She shot her best tournament round ever at 1 under. It was awesome, and she's going to be one to watch out for, as well as Taylor Bandley, who's also from St. George, which is kind of fun. It brings a lot of locals out to maybe show some support to our program.
You look at golf, and again, kind of another one of those interesting dynamics. I think a lot of people look at it and say, what do you do for practice? How do you get ready for tournaments on a weekly basis, or on a bi-weekly basis, or however often you play those tournaments? Do you just out and strictly on the course playing 18 holes that day, or how do you draw that balance between out playing on the course and then saying, well, we got to do some range, we got to do some short games, some chipping, some putting? How do you draw that balance?
We're really working a lot on course management right now. All these players have the skills. It's just learning how to manage ourselves around the golf course in tournament play. Sometimes they make decisions that maybe aren't the smartest when they're not playing well, just maybe give up. But we're working on trying to navigate our way around the golf course.
So do you put, excuse me, at practice, our players put into kind of a game-like scenario? You're excuse me, you're in the rough, you got to make it to the green and get on the green and then get out of there. They put in certain scenarios like that in practice to help replicate the live tournament feel?
Absolutely. That's my goal, to kind of get them to feel those pressure situations. So I get them playing with different players on the team that they're not used to playing with, and put them in situations where they might not feel so comfortable.
You opened the season last week at Western New Mexico with a 16th place finish there. Don't necessarily need to talk about or dwell on the finish per se, but what did you learn in your first tournament of this young season that can help you going forward?
We learned that we have a lot of talent, but we have a lot to learn as far as how to handle ourselves in tournament situations and stay calm and realize that we're playing as a team now. A lot of these girls, because they were used to being stars on their own college team, it's hard to change that mentality and say, okay, every shot counts now. It's not just me. I'm playing for a team.
Of course, you get to host a tournament now this week, and you go on the road for the first tournament of the fall, and now you're back at home Monday and Tuesday at Sand Hollow for the Dixie State Invitational. How nice is that to be able to stay at home now? You don't have to worry about the travel with your girls. You don't have to worry about some of the stresses that come from being on the road. Players can sleep in their own beds. You can sleep in your own bed. The course is familiar. You go out. How nice is that to be able to do with your second tournament here in the fall?
It's going to be great. We've been practicing a lot out at Sand Hollow, and the girls are comfortable out there, so I think it's going to prove to be a huge benefit to us.
Do you know much about the teams that you're going to be facing at the Dixie State Fall Invitation? I know it's been kind of an annual thing.
Yeah.
Kind of give us the lowdown on kind of the competition that may be there on Monday
There's
and
some
Tuesday.
strong teams for sure, most of which we saw at the Western New Mexico tournament. So we know we've got to play well if we're going to compete.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you stopping by. I know it's a busy time of day to take time out of your schedule and to come by here and to be with us, but we really appreciate it and appreciate the opportunity to get to know you better. We wish you well throughout the season and the best of luck in all these tournaments. We'll be keeping a close eye, and of course we'll have all the results right here on the show as well, but we appreciate you stopping by and taking time out of your schedule. Before we let you go, we have our Trailblazer Weekly hard hat, kind of symbolizing the hard work that the good folks here at CEC put into building this new locker, this part of the set, and we're excited to be able to have our interviews here. We want you to sign that,
Great.
if you will. Just
Sure.
put anywhere you want there on that helmet, and we can kind of go back and say these are the great people and great coaches that we've had on the show here on Trailblazer Weekly. So we appreciate that, and now it's notched in history forever. Head coach Lindsey Stucki making her appearance here on Trailblazer Weekly. And we appreciate you being here.
Thanks again, Coach, for having me.
It's time for our next break. When we come back, we take a look ahead at the next week in Dixie State Athletics. We'll also hear from women's soccer senior Aubri Detmer in our player profile feature. We are back with more after this.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
There is a place where young and old make connections, where kids feel like grown-ups, and grown-ups feel like kids. There is a place where beauty arises in contrast, where wonder is universal, and laughter second nature. There is a place where friends find a future, families find each other, and feelings find their home. There is a place.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
And welcome back inside Trailblazer Weekly. I am Keric Seegmiller, your host. As always, a big thank you to women's golf head coach Lindsey Stucki for stopping by in our previous segment. Always good to get to know our coaches and student athletes a little bit better. It's time now to take a look ahead at the next week in Trailblazer Athletics, and you can follow along on your screen as we show you the graphics on what will be going on in the next week. We start today and into Friday. Women's tennis team getting their fall opening on their schedule down at Azusa, California at the ITA Regionals. They will be down there Thursday and Friday. Also some other things going on Friday in Dixie State Athletics, and you see it there on your screen. The softball team getting another game on their fall schedule. They will host Southern Utah University in a doubleheader at Carl Brooks Field in a fall schedule game. And that's the schedule for Friday. Moving into Saturday, and a busy schedule on Saturday. A lot going on, especially here in St. George, between Legend Solar Stadium and in the Student Activity Center. First, it's that women's tennis ITA Regionals still in Azusa, California. Then we go to football, the first game on campus. That game will kick off at 1 p.m. against Western State, Colorado. The first ever matchup on the gridiron between the Trailblazers and the Mountaineers. From there, volleyball will have a match later in the evening at 6 p.m. hosting Chaminade in what will be a very, very busy Saturday. We continue on Saturday with two soccer matches as soon as the football game wraps up at Legend Solar Stadium. we will get things turned around and get it set up for 2 soccer matches. Fresno Pacific will be in town to take on the men's team at 5:30, and then the women's game will be later at 8 p.m. Again, remember that Fresno Pacific matchup between Dixie State and Fresno Pacific is kind of a rematch, at least on the men's side. Last season, to end the season, Dixie State and Fresno Pacific matched up for what would have been essentially a Pac-West championship match. Now, Fresno Pacific won that match, and Dixie State had to claim a second-place finish in the Pac-West. No doubt that will be on the minds of the Trailblazers as they get ready for that match on Saturday. That kind of wraps up the weekend of Dixie State athletics, but we are not done as we skip Sunday and into Monday. On October 3rd, the women's golf team is back in action, as you heard us talk to head coach Lindsey Stucki about hosting the Dixie State Fall Invitational at Sand Hollow Golf Course. That will be Monday and Tuesday, essentially all-day events there. And then women's volleyball will also be in action Monday night, hosting Notre Dame Dana Muir at the Student Activities Center, and that game will start at 6 p.m. So another busy week of Dixie State athletics, and we invite you to come out and catch all of those. As you see on your screen, the second day of the Dixie State Fall Invitational on Tuesday, October 4th. A lot of home events, especially that Saturday. Kind of a preview of what things will look like on October 22nd on homecoming, when we have 4 home events again in the same day. So invite you to catch all of those. Wear your game day t-shirts, your red shirts. Come support your Trailblazer teams on the campus here at Dixie State University. Before we wrap up the show today, it's time for another player profile feature. This week, Trailblazer Weekly correspondents Shelby Young and Hayden Peterson caught up with women's soccer senior Aubri Detmer.
Aubri Detmer. I am a senior. I am from Austin, Texas. I play women's soccer, and I am majoring in nursing. Well, I have a very athletic family. My grandpa played baseball at BYU. My uncle and my dad both played professional football. Just everyone in my family has always done sports, and so, I don't know, just coming from a family that is super competitive and athletic, it's hard not to want to also be a part of that. I'm super competitive, so really it just comes, like, I guess from within me. Just, I don't like losing and I don't like being bad at something, so for me it's just, I want to be the best and I want to do better all the time, so I just continue to work to get better. I love midfield because you get to play offense and defense, and for me that was my favorite thing because I don't know, I like to get into the attack, but I also like to defend, and for me, I'm more of a defensive-minded player. I really like, obviously, the women's national team, but my favorite player on that team is Carly Lloyd, and she's a lot of people's favorite player right now, being probably one of the best players in the world, but she's just so good, and she's just really smart, and I really like the way she plays. For me, it's the friendships you build, I guess. I love my team. They're so great, and they're so fun, and normally it's hard to get along with 40 girls, but I feel like I get along with every single one of them, and I don't know, I enjoy having those friendships. I actually want to get my CRNA, which is to become a nurse anesthetist, and so I'm planning on working in the ICU for a couple of years as a nurse, and then hopefully getting into a grad school to work to get my CRNA.
DSU! I love soccer!
Feature, and I might add, a very timely player profile feature, as Aubri Detmer scored the game-winning goal versus Holy Names on Tuesday. So congratulations to her for that, and we wish her the best. We wish all of our student athletes and coaches the best going forward. Remember, we'll have all the results from these upcoming games and matches right here next week on Trailblazer Weekly. That'll do it for today's show. Remember, you can catch this episode and all other episodes of Trailblazer Weekly on demand at southernutahlive.com, as well as on the Dixie State Athletics YouTube page and the CEC Television YouTube page. I'm Keric Seegmiller. We thank you for watching today. We will catch you next week on Trailblazer Weekly.